Hi, it's Reese. I was able to go on the Workcamp Trip this year, and some of my favorite parts were just fitting everything into the day, because as weird as that sounds, you could fit everything that you wanted to into the day without being rushed. It was really nice. Besides maybe showers. You did have to rush for those. And then another favorite part was just being able to walk anywhere and make new friends immediately. Everybody there was super sweet and nice and super inviting. And then some of my God sightings, when I tell you these God sightings were the best God sightings I've ever seen, it's crazy. So one of them was I was talking to my resident, and her husband had passed away 33 years ago. And we had just finished painting her room. So when she went in, she was in awe. And she goes to me, because I was the one in the room with her, and she goes to me, "This is the first time in 33 years that I've actually been happy since my husband passed." And that was just a major God setting, because how is that not? And seeing that we could do that for her, And then another one was that her youngest son, had got into a car accident and couldn't move. And then God had healed him, and so he could move now, and everything's great. And the lady was telling me about it, and I was oh, well, it must have been God or something who did that then, right? And she was yeah, I honestly think that God healed him. Otherwise, I think he might have actually died from that. I was yeah, it's a thing, how he works in those ways. And she was yeah, I guess so. And what my group did at her house, we painted the railings, painted a room, stained the deck, stained this ramp, built some stairs, redid some of the back deck, and the guys actually helped build a floor in her house. And I was definitely my resident's favorite. Sorry guys who were in my group, but it was kind of obvious that I was the favorite, but not to brag. But yeah, I just had a lot of fun, and the Target and Walmart friends are always super fun too. So yeah, that was my Workcamp trip.
Hi, my name is Gianna. This was my first year at Workcamp, and I will be going back. It was such a fun experience to be a part of, and I feel like I grew a lot of friendships. At first, I was skeptical about going and was nervous that I wouldn't have anyone to talk to, but it was the complete opposite. I talked to pretty much everyone there and made friends from different states. I'm a shy person, but I think most people at Workcamp will tell you I definitely came out of my shell. At our work site, it was pretty good and not too hard of a project. We had to clear out an area, then build a ramp out the back door. Our crew finished on Thursday. We had Monday through Friday to finish our project, so we finished early. On Thursday, after we finished, our resident actually told us that she didn't like the ramp. We built her off the end, so we had to rebuild it. I was really angry inside after that, because we put in extra effort to build that, and she didn't even say thank you, but instead told us to put in stairs. So we had to go back on Friday and do the stairs. Thursday was actually the day we learned about God testing us, so this was a great example of it. One of my favorite moments on the trip was going to Kings Island. I didn't like roller coasters before I went, but my friends on the trip convinced me to go on the biggest ones there. They kindly peer-pressured me into going on it, and they helped me get over one of my fears. Another one of my favorite moments was when we worshiped together as a giant group. There are groups from all over the country, and we were singing, dancing, and worshiping God together. The girls in our church also made up our own dance moves and some of the songs, which was fun. And when we did My Lighthouse, the others were doing a different dance, but we stuck by the VBS version of the dance. Everyone at Workcamp was able to finish their projects, and we helped so many people that may have needed it. Just being able to help the people in Kentucky made me feel like I had truly served God.
So this time I'd invite Brody to come forward, and Brody's going to share a word with us. The students, when we return from Workcamp, have opportunities to volunteer to talk about what God has been doing in and through them at Workcamp, and so we're excited for Brody to be able to share this morning.
Hello, my name is Brody Schmutzler, and I would like to share with you a testimony of the great ways that God was at work at this year's Workcamp. On Saturday morning, we packed our bags and loaded up the vans in the parking lot right outside over there. and we headed out to Winchester, Kentucky. We were blessed with safe travels and were able to spend the night at a church before we drove the final stretch to the school and checked in. For the first day, we had a great time getting to know each other and hanging out with everybody who was there. Then we split into groups and were assigned to job sites where we would be assisting residents who needed some help. I was put into a group of 6 with Miss Florio, Jackson, Addie, Sophia, and Eli. On the first day, we traveled to our job site and met our resident, Mrs. D, who was very kind and was grateful for our help. This week, we would be building a porch and painting her walls. The first step was to tear down the old porch, which was rotted and built with only nails. This was good news, though, because we got to have some fun destroying it with a sledgehammer. So, with the deck turned to wood chips, the next day we could start digging the post holes. Another group had finished early and came to help us with the digging, and went good for about 2 inches until we hit solid rock. With only a breaker bar and a team of workers, we spent the day pounding away the rock until we had a hole deep enough to cement the posts into the ground. At least those posts won't be coming out anytime soon. We managed to build the porch in the next 3 days, also painting the inside of Mrs. D's house. At the end of the week, it was so great to see how joyful Miss D was to have us there. When we were there, she told us that every day is a good day to go out and catch a blessing. This mentality truly reflects how we should live our lives. We should be glad to go out and witness the goodness of God in everyday life. Whether we choose to see it or not, we are constantly blessed by Him. We are blessed to live His word and seek His love. We are blessed to know Him, and we are blessed to go out and spread His grace with others, just like how our work camp group was able to. It truly was an incredible experience that revealed the goodness of God to both us and the people that we helped.
So thanks to Brody, and Sophia is also going to come up and share some of her story about what God was doing in and through her.
Okay. Look, we all made it back in one piece. Everyone has all their fingers and toes, or at least I hope. But for me, a piece of my heart will remain in Kentucky. Not for the horrible food or for the air mattress that deflated halfway through the night, or the questionable looks we received at Walmart as a group of 24 people, but for the kindness and love received while being there. I didn't expect to gain so many friends from this trip. I truly did not expect to become friends with the kid we thought was super cute the first time we saw him in church, let alone someone who would be going into his freshman year of college, or my K-Cup who lives a little over 781 miles away from me, or at least that's how far it is to the South Carolina border. I believe that not only did I gain these friendships, but I also gained respect and courage from this trip. On the lovely Cry Night Part 2, I gained the courage to share something that not many people may know. I shared at our group devotion how my father was diagnosed with dementia a little over a year ago. Yes, the same family that sits in the third row almost every Sunday during 11:15 service has this going on. There's a quote that I love from the late Ava Wood. She says, "Stay strong, make them wonder how you're still smiling." This is how I think many of us thought after this Cry Night, after many of us had shared. We all questioned how everyone was still going. But I think most of the girls had already questioned that on our first Cry Night on Tuesday. None of us were expecting to cry as much as we did that night, but after the heavy God signings and accountability took, almost all of the girls were found crying surrounded around Kristen's bed. That night, we shared things that led to us sharing on Thursday. But besides all the sad stuff, we all have our own favorite memories. Whenever I'm asked what mine is, I laugh because it is a memory that I don't think made it into everyone's top 3. But for me, it was the Sunday we arrived at the junior high school. We had all just gotten settled in and went to the cafeteria to play spoons. We finally got started with the game, but were asked if we could load a fridge with L8, a popular ginger ale company. Of course, we all said yes, because how were we going to say no when we had just arrived? This took a good 10 to 15 minutes, so after we had gone back to the table and to restart our game. We finally got started once again, but was interrupted once again by someone telling us that there was more ginger ale to be unpacked. At first, we were unsure to say yes because we had just started to play spoons again, but the sweetest southern accent took the guy up on his offer, and there we were unpacking ginger ale. At first, we were all going in and out of the truck, which was very hot, I may add, taking out ginger ale until we decided to form an assembly line. This is where the real fun started. As we all moved the packs of exploded ginger ale, we made it a game. We would try and load the pallet as fast as we could until we realized that we needed to bring it inside and not on the pallet. After we fixed what we had been working on, we got back to our assembly line, but this time warning each other that the boxes were soggy. This simple memory will always be one of my favorites, not because it was the best thing that happened on the trip, it was because we made the best out of what it was. Throughout that whole week, each and every day came a new opportunity to show God's work. And if I had to take one thing away from this whole trip, it would be to be kind to everyone. After this trip, I seemed to realize that you can never tell that the people around you may be struggling. So take a minute and look around. You just looked at someone who may be struggling in some sort of way. The next time you think of saying something or doing something, just remember that your words have the power to affect someone's life. You have the power to show God's love and how He's a friend for everyone. Don't let that power go to waste.
I'd invite Braden Florio to come forward. We're going to have two of our students that were on work camp share a faith story, what they saw God doing on the trip, and Braden is going to be our first.
Hi, my name is Braden Florio. Before work camp this year, I was very stressed out about going. I was worried I wouldn't have friends on the trip or that I'd be too quiet, as I was last year. I went on the trip with awful social anxiety, and I expected to drag through it and come out the same. But on the ride to Kentucky, there was lots of great conversation, and by the time we arrived, I felt welcomed, and I started looking forward to the trip. Over the week, I started to open up more than I ever had, and I grew far closer to people than I was before. During our daily devotions, I shared things that I've never publicly talked about, and it was amazing to give up my emotion to God through sharing. Over the trip, I made many great memories, friends, and grew closer to God. It was amazing helping our resident, as she had had a hard life and was extremely thankful for our help. She was getting complaints from her town about our lack of siding, and said without us, she may have had to pay a fine. On the site, we worked very well together, and we were able to finish the first site in just 3 days. We sided their entire mobile home and built a railing. The second site we went to wasn't looking great, and most of us thought we wouldn't be able to get it done. The crew that started there was building a deck, and the post holes were dug in correctly, and the stairs in the back of the house needed to be rebuilt 3 times. Members of the other crew kept nearly dropping heavy objects on people's heads, and we didn't know if we would be able to finish. But by staying late on both work days and working very hard, we were able to finish the site, and the resident was so thankful she baked us apple pie and banana muffins to eat with lunch. Overall, the trip left me much more outgoing and willing to share with people, and I'm much closer to the other people on the trip and closer to God.
Thanks to Braden for sharing. I want to invite Peter Cross up now to share his faith story testimony as well.
Good morning. I'm Peter Cross. During my time at work camp, I experienced a real connection with God. From the moment I stepped into the departing van until we were driving back home, I opted to put my phone away so that I could fully embrace the work camp experience and what would be my last youth group trip as I recently graduated high school. This disconnect from my phone allowed me to engage deeply with my fellow participants and focus on our shared mission of serving the community. As the oldest youth participant among our group of 20, I felt a special responsibility to connect with others and lead by example. Upon our arrival in Winchester, Kentucky, we were assigned to smaller work groups, and I was paired with Pastor Jason, Madison Kopak, Jennifer Pritchard, AJ Tresh, and Braden Florio. I was excited to start working, as I love handiwork just like my dad and brother. Being the oldest in my crew, I felt that God was calling me to guide the younger kids and help them navigate our tasks of repairing a trailer home that was in rough shape. Seeing the condition of many of the homes around where we served made me very grateful for all many of us have in our lives. Typically, I struggle with patience, especially when I want to jump in and get things accomplished. Initially, I found myself wanting to take the drill from other hands or measure everything myself to avoid mistakes. You know the saying, measure twice, cut once. But I made a conscious decision to be patient and supportive. As I worked through this challenge and the importance of helping others, I witnessed God's presence in my life, teaching me valuable lessons about how to be a servant leader, empathize, and reflect on how everyone's situation is unique. This experience not only deepened my faith, but also strengthened my connections with my friends as we laughed together on the worksite, allowing us to serve the community with a smile on our faces. During our work, we served a resident named Kathy. I felt we really connected with her on the second day of work camp when she invited us into her home for a devotion. As we talked, she opened up about her life story and her financial struggles, where she often does not have enough money to pay for her bills. She expressed her gratitude for us being a blessing from God as we replaced the skirting around the edge of her trailer and built her a stairwell railing. If God didn't bring us kids from Tonawanda, New York, I don't think Kathy could have afforded those needed repairs. Kathy was fantastic, and her thankfulness made our efforts feel truly meaningful. My interactions with Kathy caused me to appreciate the things in life I sometimes take for granted, like basic shelter, utilities, and food. I was reminded that everyone should be able to have the basic necessities in life. While work camp was focused on service, it was also a ton of fun. Without my phone distracting me, I taught everyone how to play a card game called 99. We shared laughs and developed strong relationships that surprised me for a short trip, especially since this last year I was unable to participate in youth group as much due to my chaotic high school schedule. On this trip, I felt right at home, welcomed by a community that felt like my family. I connected with nearly everyone, from my cousin Jackson, who I've known forever, to Gianna, a younger girl entering her freshman year of high school. Work camp pushed me in the right direction toward building a stronger relationship with God and reminded me how important it is to serve and protect those in our communities who can't easily meet their needs. I know these lessons will serve me well in the future because every time I serve, I feel a true sense of joy and desire to find more ways to give back further. Reflecting now as I move on to college, I'm so grateful that this church supports opportunities for high schoolers like me to attend, and I hope these trips continue to thrive. I'd like to finish up with a Bible verse that resonates with me about work camp. Acts 20:35. In everything I did, I showed you that by working hard in this manner, we must help the weak. Remembering the words the Lord Jesus himself said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. Thank you.